Thanks for downloading a 3CR podcast. 3CR is an independent community radio station based in Melbourne, Australia. We need your financial support to keep going. Go to www.3cr.org.au for more information and to donate online. Now stay tuned for your 3CR podcast.
Hello and welcome to Lost in Science. This is half an hour on your radio where we talk about science. My name's Stu, and with me on the show this week I have Linden.
Hey, Stu.
And I have Chris.
Hi, Stu.
Linden, what have you brought in for us that's of a sciencey nature this week?
It's something disgusting. I think it's something disgusting, Stu. I tried not to, but that's what piqued my interest this week. So I've brought some debunking or potential supporting evidence of an old wives' tale, a sort of natural remedy, a household remedy to the stomach bug.
And you should have done air quotes on natural remedy, because I think what you're talking about isn't the most natural thing in the world.
Not. Maybe I was doing air quotes. This is a medium for the ear. I was doing
That's true.
Air quotes with my mouth. Yeah, so this week I'm looking into the science behind whether Coca-Cola can actually help you if you have a tummy bug, whether Coca-Cola is able to get rid of tummy bugs or lessen symptoms, and what the actual science, not people on Reddit, what the actual science has to say about that.
Well, it did start off as a patent medicine back in the day, but that was when it also had cocaine in the ingredients, so it probably made a bit more difference than what it does now. That sounds really interesting. I will be looking forward to hearing whether that will solve my stomach problems or whether I'll just tough it out like I usually do. And Chris, what have you got for us?
Well, speaking of drug use, I guess, I'm talking about the 90s rock band Soundgarden.
Excellent.
Nice.
Yeah.
Their famous greatest hit, Spoon Man, obviously, is what you're going for.
No, perhaps better known is the 1994 song Black Hole Sun.
Ah.
Now, I did look up about the history of this song, and apparently the guy who wrote it, he was listening to the radio in the car, he misheard what the announcer was saying on the news, and he thought they said Black Hole Sun, thought it didn't make any sense, but it inspired him to, one of those songs was written very quickly, because he just thought, what does Black Hole Sun mean? And so it's basically a nonsense term, Black Hole Sun, that became a big hit. Now, apparently it was very, I guess, prophetic, because black hole stars are a new thing that have been hypothesized in the early universe based on some observations from the infrared space telescope, the JWST. So yeah, I am going to be exploring this I guess new phenomenon that was predicted by Soundgarden over 30 years ago, and we should respect their contribution to science, I guess.
Yes. So we've got treatment for your guts and getting into the guts of the universe coming up on the show. Please stay tuned.
Yes, I see. Good news, everyone!
You're listening to Lost in Science.
Yes, you're listening to Lost in Science, and I am talking about a new discovery in the early universe. A new type of astronomical object, which we always love to have, but this one is fairly important, I think.
What is it?
Well, okay, so let me bit of context first of all. Now, you're familiar with the JWST?
Yes.
James Webb Spider tracksuit pants. No, what is it?
Space Telescope.
That's right.
Where the name is still controversial, so I often like to refer to
JWST.
JWST because of there was a whole issue about James Webb, who it was named after. But I don't know. There seems to be much controversy about that these days. But I like to stick with the abbreviation just for safety's sake. But no, it was a big infrared telescope that was launched a few years ago, and it was designed to look at a lot of different things, including I suppose, the planets in our solar system, get a better view of them. It's got some interesting discoveries it's made there. It can also look at exoplanets, around other stars and things, and try and get an idea of what their atmospheres are made of, and perhaps find signs of life in that. But it's also designed to look at the very early universe and see what we can see in the early stages of the universe. And as soon as it did that, it found a whole lot of stuff people weren't expecting, and leading to headlines like "Cosmology in Crisis," "Physicists don't know what they're doing," all that kind of stuff.
I love that. They find something new and they go, "Oh, now it's changed everything." It's like, well, it's just new stuff.
That's what science. That's
things
what
that we
science
know,
is.
things that we didn't know before.
Yeah, they're kind of picturing it as, oh no, the physicists are all panicking because their theories aren't right. It's like scientists love new data and unexpected things. That's the goal.
Keeps it interesting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If they hadn't found something new, what a massive waste of time and money.
Yeah.
Nothing worse than writing a paper about something you already knew.
Yeah, that's right. So, but also we don't clearly know everything about the universe because the universe is big and old, and it's unsurprisingly there is still more to learn. But like some of the things that discovered that was a bit of a mystery was, for instance, there were a lot of galaxies in the very early universe, very bright galaxies, earlier than expected, that we thought would take for galaxies to form. Okay, so this is one of the big puzzles, and a lot of the galaxies are so bright they imply they've got big supermassive black holes at their centers, which are the center of most galaxies is billion solar mass black holes, that sort of thing, millions to billions of solar masses. And again, how did you get such big black holes forming so early? The other mystery they found was sprinkled throughout its kind of star field were these mysterious little red dots, and no one knew what the little red dots are. So there's a new paper that's come out that is trying to solve this question of the little red dots and maybe solve the other puzzles as well.
Is that their technical term, little red dots?
That is the technical term.
No way.
Yes.
LRDs.
Yeah. It gets even sillier than that. So they want to examine what these little red dots and these early galaxies are about. And so they, with the JWST, they established a new survey program called, abbreviated to MOM. MOM stands for Mirage or Miracle. As in, what they're looking at, is it real? Like, is it like some sort of like image artifact? Is it a mirage or is it a miraculous early object? So they take their work very seriously.
Yeah,
these
clearly.
scientists. Anyway, so this latest paper that came out, was published in Nature recently, is about one of the little red dots, obviously the brightest and the reddest of the little red dots that they've seen, and they called it MOM BH star 1, like little asterisk, BH asterisk 1. MOM being Mirage or Miracle, because you often name objects after the thing that discovered. In this case, it was a program called the Mirage or Miracle program. But the BH asterisk 1 stands for Black Hole Star 1, because they're saying this is a new object called a black hole star, and it is the first that they found. So Black Hole Star 1.
Right. So how does a star be a black hole at the same time?
Or the correct question is, how does a black hole be a star at the same time, I suppose? So what it is it's a red object, obviously, very red. Not just red because it's so early in the universe. As you know, things are red shifted the further away they are, because things that in the early universe are moving far away from us because the universe is expanding, so everything is red shifted, but these are kind of red in color as well. Now, often when we see red things in the universe, it's because there is dust in the way, something is absorbing the light. But in this case, I mean, it's very too early in the universe for that. They also managed to establish that it wasn't anything in between us and these dots that's causing the red color. But if you look at the spectrum, it doesn't have a spectrum that matches dust. In fact, it looks more like hydrogen and helium is what is the gases involved. And in particular, there's this thing where the spectrum cuts off after a certain wavelength. So at the higher frequencies or shorter wavelengths of light, the spectrum just cuts off because whatever light there is being absorbed by a lot of hydrogen. And so this implies what we've got here is a large amount of very dense hydrogen surrounding this object. So you find this thing, it's called a Balmer break, where you get this drop off in the spectrum. It's something that is kind of a thing seen in large stars, for instance. But this is like the biggest Balmer break, the biggest drop-off in spectrum that they've ever seen in any object. So it implies this is like a very big sort of ball of dense hydrogen. So they did a lot of modelling to work out what it could be. And the only thing that seemed to work is that you've basically got a ball of hydrogen roughly the size of our solar system. So if you think about the sun being kind of a ball of hydrogen, essentially, at the centre of our solar system, and then if that was as big as the whole system, that's what we're talking about, kind of a star-like object.
Wow.
As big as the whole solar system. And it's so bright that just a normal star could not explain its brightness. So the only theory they could come up with is that there was a black hole at the centre of this star-like object. So in that sense, it is a black hole, but also a star in that sense. So it's not powered by nuclear fusion. It's powered by a black hole. The black hole is absorbing all the gas and stuff that's falling into it. And when that happens, when stuff falls into a black hole, it swirls around, as you've probably seen in the pictures. It moves very fast. It gets very hot as it's swirling around. It gives off a lot of radiation. And so that is essentially what is happening there. This black hole is both sucking in a lot of this gas. It is giving off a lot of radiation. A lot of that is being absorbed by the hydrogen surrounding it, and only the red light is getting out, this really bright red object.
So is that their hypothesis, or were they able to test that and prove that?
Well, they can't really prove it. They apparently they did like 1 million different models. Presumably using a computer of some type. They did 1 million different models, and this is kind of the only this model fit the data. So it's not proven, but no one's got a better explanation for this, and it kind of fits with what we know should be going on in the early universe, I suppose. So yeah, it's kind of it is really bright too. I should say it's brighter. It sits in a galaxy, but this red object is brighter than the whole galaxy that it sits in, which is why they picked on this one. It was the brightest one that they could see. So it kind of answers some of these questions. It's sort of an explanation for the little red dots. They've had a bit of a look at some of the other little red dots, and they found they've got a similar spectrum. They seem to have similar properties to this one. So if this explanation works, it could work for all the little red dots. And it could also explain how you got black holes growing so quickly, because they were in kind of these kind of weird star-like objects, and they just absorbed a lot of stuff very quickly and grew in mass. This particular one, it does seem to be on a collision course with another galaxy in the early universe. About 100 million years it would take to hit it, which, considering this whole thing was about 600 million years after the Big Bang, that's not, a lot of time in the grand scheme of things. So, when galaxies collide, if their black holes meet, then they can merge and make an even bigger black hole. And so in this way, you could have had black holes growing fairly early on in the universe, which I think is an interesting thing as well. Like, black holes were theorized fairly early on from, Einstein's theory of relativity. Took a long time for us to kind of find objects that we were confident were black holes. But, they seemed like these weird theoretical constructs, this idea. They're kind of they're described as a black hole. They seem like a defect in the universe, like a hole in the universe, like a little mistake. But, the fact that there are so many big ones early on, they must have formed like right at the beginning of the universe. And then they've grown. Some of them got really big and they sit at the center of galaxies now. They're fundamental to the whole universe and what we see in the universe, which is, I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing that there could be these objects that are like nothing else, that kind of a big wall where nothing can get out of them, and yet they are such an integral part of our universe. I don't know, kind of, to me, that shakes my idea of how things should be working. Like, nice, you think just all the stuff that we see, the kind of matter and forces we see going on is what the universe should be. But no, there's these monsters that no one can get into or out of, that are the key to how it all works.
I think we're lost.
We're not lost. Not even any short-range radio signals yet?
Except for a single, very powerful radio emission.
Of course, a transmitter of that sort isn't exactly standard equipment.
Science and technology must be absolutely mind-boggling.
Of course, it's mostly on the theoretical side.
We're so far.
You're listening to Lost in Science.
Welcome back. Yes, you're listening to Lost in Science. Now, Chris and Stu, I've got a question for you. It's maybe a slightly indelicate question, but I'm sure you would have some useful answers. What is your go-to if you're feeling like you got a bit of a sick tum? What's your, What's your household remedy for if you're feeling a little bit unwell?
Just tough it out.
Sack of concrete.
Yeah, I don't really take anything for an upset tummy.
No.
Yeah, no, me neither.
I have in the past had, if I had serious diarrhea, taken things, but the cure in that case is often almost as bad as the problem because it blocks you up forever, for days, and it's not fun.
Yeah, and like serious diarrhea, the main thing is we are getting into indelicate straight away, aren't we? Is like when the actual treatments you get is often it's about hydration and that sort of stuff, and so it's only really that's like putting your fluids back. Basically, is a lot of tough it out. I think is the way, just put up with it until it will go away eventually. Yep. Fingers crossed.
Okay. Oh wow! I really thought you guys would say, okay, well here's what I do. I have 2 parts ginger and 2 parts, whatever.
No, I'm too busy usually.
What about if someone else in your house is sick?
Yeah, no, we don't have any special remedies. No, maybe I should have one. Maybe you'll supply.
Well,
some tips.
I've got a couple of suggestions. So a friend of mine whose mother is a nurse, she would always swear by grated apple. If you're feeling a little bit dusty or if you're feeling like you've got a bit of a sick tum, grated apple gives you those electrolytes, rehydrates you, but it's quite gentle on the tum.
Okay.
And another suggestion that looms large in my family history is Coca-Cola.
I mean,
for the flat
lemonade.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Is an old thing, but I don't put any store in it, so I don't do that. And also, I never have any flat lemonade.
No.
It's all fizzy.
It doesn't sit around long enough to go flat.
Well, Diet Coke is a remedy that is used a lot.
Okay.
For travelling, if you've eaten something and you're like, well, I don't know if that's going to...
So Diet Coke, not Coke Zero?
Well, either. Diet Coke, regular Coke, Coke Zero. There is this bit of an urban legend that Diet Coke, Coca-Cola, Coke Zero, any form of carbonated, caffeinated beverage can help calm the stomach. It's certainly something that has stuck in my brain since I was in my 20s, maybe travelling through Asia, thinking, oh, you know what? I've eaten a bit of a weird sandwich. Just going to have a Coke, and maybe that'll cut something off at the pass. And I was curious about whether there was any scientific evidence, scientific reality to support this old wives' tale.
I'm just thinking, though, too, when you're thinking about, like, getting some energy into, like, a sugary drink is a way of getting some sugar in you in a non-kind of gut-harming form, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, you think about Coke, you don't really think that it's good for your gut, because it has those acids in it. It's a carbonated beverage. It's also got a lot of chemicals, artificially produced chemicals. So you think maybe that's not ideal. But the internet suggests that I'm not alone in this theory. There are quite a few people out there on the internet spruiking the health benefits of Coke and Diet Coke, although somebody suggested that Coke can also cure COVID. So, let's interrogate that with a little bit more of a scientific mind.
Look, before you dive in, can I also say that whatever findings you're about to announce, I presume also apply to Pepsi. So
yes.
Let us not be...
and Royal Crown Cola.
RC,
Caffeinated beverages that are carbonated.
Okay, yeah.
Caffeinated, carbonated beverages.
Iron Brew?
Ooh.
Is that caffeinated?
That's carbonated, yeah.
I don't know if it's caffeinated.
I don't know if it's caffeinated.
Anyway.
It's full of sugar.
Yeah. This story is not sponsored by any particular beverage.
That's what we're trying to establish, yeah.
The exploration was done on Coke. Don't know about Pepsi. Most of the studies I explored were looking at Coke and Coca-Cola.
Okay.
And in fact, at the recent Paris Olympics, when there were swimmers in the Seine.
Oh, yeah.
And people were really worried about getting gastro from swimming in the Seine. Some supporters and some sort of athlete trainers were suggesting that you down a Coke after you have a swim. Quite a few athletes, including Australian athletes, were like, I'm just doing what I'm told. I'm doing what the experts tell me. And that's to have a Coke, maybe to revitalise their sugar levels and also kill off some bugs. I don't know.
So what does it say?
Exactly, right? Yeah. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence. Let's have a look at the actual science. First of all, there is a bit of science around Coke calming down an upset stomach, right? partially because it's got phosphoric acid in it, and this is the acid that kind of interacts with rust or any kind of oxide, if you've seen those experiments and demonstrations where coins are put into Coke, and that the rust gets kind of dissolved with the phosphoric acid. But that phosphoric acid can also slow down your digestion, which can soften or ease up stomach cramps. So much so that it's actually included in some over-the-counter medicines in the US for stomach cramps, so if you're feeling nauseous. And it also increases mucus development, the phosphoric acid in your stomach.
I did not know this.
Yeah, so that can be helpful as well. A bit of sugar does that too. So if you're getting phosphoric acid over the counter at the pharmacy, it also is mixed with fructose or glucose or something like that. And so that's kind of what Coca-Cola would be. Generally, some of the advice around having Coke to ease an upset stomach is to flatten it out first, because the bubbles can help sometimes, but can also hinder sometimes if you're feeling a bit sick in the stomach. There was a review study done in 2009 that looked at all of the different... I couldn't find anything huge, any big study that said Coke definitely does this or doesn't do that. Because while you say a sugary beverage is good for you if you've got gastro or something, Coke is not going to rehydrate you in the way that rehydration salts are going to do. So a little bit can be okay, but if you think, right, I'm just going to have Coke and that'll cure what ails me.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, but yeah, if you've got an upset tummy, you're probably not at that desperately dehydrated level.
Yeah, true. But a study in 2009 that reviewed lots of other studies from around the world found no clear evidence that Coca-Cola was going to be, that it has a strong beneficial property. Certainly not a property for killing any bugs that you might have accidentally ingested. Of course, Coca-Cola is acidic, but your stomach is more acidic. So if there are any microbes or viruses that you've managed to inhale and put into your stomach, then your stomach acid's probably going to do a pretty good job of breaking those down as well. However, I did find a recent study that was published by researchers in Pakistan in 2024 that has suggested Coca-Cola is developing as a treatment for Bezos.
Oh, not Jeff Bezos, but
no. Basically obstructions in your intestinal tract or in your stomach. Yeah. This study in particular was looking at persimmon-derived Bezos.
Right.
So if anybody's eaten a persimmon...
I have.
Yes.
It didn't give me any problems. I just
Persimmons
ate it.
have got quite big stones. Is that right?
They've got quite large seeds. Yeah. So I guess if you swallowed one accidentally, it could cause a problem.
Correct. So if this is where you are, if you're listening to this thinking I've accidentally swallowed a persimmon stone, keep listening. This study in Pakistan, they had 31 people who had presented to the hospital with persimmon focused Bezos, so they'd swallowed a persimmon seed. And the researchers applied Coca-Cola through a nasal lavage. So they put 3 litres of Coke.
Oh my God. Up your nose.
Into the digestive tract and out again. And they had about a 50% success rate of the Coca-Cola as a low intrusion method of dislodging this Bezos, this sort of
so
object that was stuck in your gut. Yeah. So apparently there were a few different reasons why it could work, right? The carbon dioxide bubbles of Coca-Cola would sort of act to dissolve and break down the fibrous seed of the persimmon. And this can be used for pineapple as well if you chomp down a really tough bit of pineapple. Also, the mucolytic effect, so mucus creation that Coca-Cola does, particularly the sodium bicarbonate in the Coca-Cola, that can help to bring up mucus, which can also help move things around. The acidic nature of Coca-Cola and the CO2 and the sodium bicarbonate work together to break it down and keep things moving. And this is a 2024 study that also looked at other studies around the world and suggested that Coca-Cola could be a first-pass approach to deal with this particular issue. That was the best thing that I could find about this old wives' tale that, I can't see any scientific evidence, but my brain goes to maybe we should have a Coke. We've eaten something a little bit suspect. Let's see if it can keep our stomachs from getting sicker. I don't know. It could be for me a placebo effect, which is interesting because the other study about Coca-Cola when you explore, the health benefits or not so much of Coke, comes from a group of Belgian students in the 1990s drank Coke and then got a bit sick. And it made big news. No Coca-Cola products were sold for about 3 weeks across Belgium and northern France. This was in 1999. And then the following week, hundreds of other people in Belgium were like, oh, I'm sick too. I know. They were complained of stomach upset as well. And this is a really canonical example of the nocebo effect. There's the placebo effect. This is the nocebo effect.
So what is the nocebo effect?
The nocebo effect is when you think that you are going to have adverse outcomes based on taking something.
So the placebo is when you think you take something and you think it's going to make you feel better and it does.
Yep.
The nocebo is when you take something you think it's going to make you sick and it does.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
Yes. So a lot of deep diving was done into whether the Coca-Cola that these kids had in the 90s was contaminated. They didn't find any evidence of that. And the research suggested it was a sociological illness. Everybody's brains sort of made them think that they were feeling sick because they had it in their head that maybe they were drinking something that was making them sick. So possibly there's some placebo effect going on there, with lots of people on the internet saying, oh, no, Coke really cures me every time I get a little bit of a sore tummy. So there's a bit of science, there's a bit of chemical science involved, but a little bit of psychological science as well. So if you are feeling a little bit sick and Coke works for you, keep it going. Maybe don't put 3 litres of it up your nose. And if you do get a persimmon seed stuck in your tummy, don't do that either. Go to the hospital.
In Pakistan.
And that is all we have time for this week on Lost in Science. Thank you for joining us in Getting Lost. If you have any questions or suggestions for the team, get in touch with us by email. We are lostinsci@gmail.com, or you can tune in the way you did this week when we return in our usual time slot to get Lost in Science!
Thanks for listening to a 3CR podcast. 3CR is an independent community radio station based in Melbourne, Australia. We need your financial support to keep going. Go to www.3cr.org.au for more information and to donate online.